Why do some people seem obsessed with themselves? Why do they crave constant attention and admiration? Is narcissism as bad as it seems, or is there more to the story? In this video, we'll break it all down. What narcissism really is, what are the different types of narcissism, and how they manifest, where it comes from, how it impacts relationships and society, and finally, can narcissism be managed? Narcissism. The word often brings to mind someone who's arrogant, self-centered, full of themselves, and consumed by their own self-importance. In psychology, narcissism is more than just vanity. It's a personality trait that exists on a spectrum. We all have some degree of narcissism, and in healthy amounts it can actually be beneficial. But at the extreme end of the spectrum lies narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD, a recognized mental health condition characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance, a deep need for admiration, and a lack of empathy. Narcissism takes its name from the Greek myth of Narcissus, a young man who fell in love with his own reflection in a pond of water. Narcissism can manifest in many ways, but there are two major types that stand out: grandiose and vulnerable narcissism. Each one plays out differently in the way people view themselves and interact with the world. Grandiose narcissism is what most people think of when they hear the word narcissist. These individuals are often outgoing, confident, and charismatic, with a strong sense of superiority. They often feel entitled to special treatment and believe they're deserving of admiration regardless of their actions. But beneath the surface, their self-esteem is fragile, and they rely heavily on external validation to maintain their sense of worth. On the other hand, vulnerable narcissism is quieter, more hidden beneath the surface. These individuals often feel a deep sense of insecurity, but they still need attention and admiration to feel validated. They often feel unappreciated, and their self-esteem is highly dependent on how others view them, though they may not express it as openly as grandiose narcissists. Though they might seem opposites, both grandiose and vulnerable narcissism share a common thread, a constant desire for admiration and recognition, though they manifest it in different ways. But remember, these two types don't exist in isolation. Many individuals can show a mix of both grandiose and vulnerable traits, depending on the situation. To understand where narcissism comes from, we need to explore the roots of personality development. Research suggests that narcissism can stem from a combination of genetic, environmental, and developmental factors. Some studies indicate that narcissistic traits may be partly inherited, meaning certain people might be biologically predisposed to higher levels of self-focus or grandiosity. But genetics alone don't explain everything. Environmental influences, particularly early childhood experiences, play a significant role in shaping narcissistic tendencies, and parenting styles are often at the heart of this. Parents who are overly indulgent or excessively praise their child's achievements, often placing them on a pedestal, can lead to the development of grandiose narcissism. These children grow up feeling entitled, believing they deserve admiration and special treatment, just like they were treated at home. Conversely, parents who are neglectful or overly critical may contribute to the development of vulnerable narcissism. These children may internalize feelings of inadequacy, and although they crave attention, they're more sensitive to criticism, feeling unappreciated even though they may not express it outwardly. In both cases, the underlying need for validation and self-worth is formed by how children were treated by those closest to them, shaping whether they lean toward grandiosity or insecurity in adulthood. While narcissism can be shaped by parenting, it's also influenced by the society we live in. In cultures that prioritize individualism, success, and self-promotion, like in many Western societies, narcissistic traits such as grandiosity are often encouraged and even rewarded. In these societies, where personal achievement, self-expression, and standing out from the crowd are strongly emphasized, individuals may develop grandiose narcissism as a response to these societal pressures. On the other hand, in more collectivist cultures, such as those in East Asia, there's often a greater emphasis on community, humility, and harmony. In these societies, vulnerable narcissism might be more common, as individuals may feel a deep desire for recognition or validation. but are also taught to suppress their egos for the good of the group. These cultural differences show that narcissism doesn't develop in a vacuum. It's shaped not just by parenting, but by societal values and expectations. In some environments, narcissistic traits may be seen as a strength, while in others they may be viewed as a flaw to be controlled. Understanding the role of culture in shaping narcissism can help us see the bigger picture and realize that the traits we consider narcissistic may be influenced by both our upbringing and the world around us. In romantic relationships, a narcissist may start by showering their partner with attention, but over time they might demand constant admiration, saying things like, "I deserve to be treated better than anyone else," creating an unhealthy power imbalance. Vulnerable narcissists may not be as overt, but they still crave validation. They might say things like, "I don't feel appreciated," or "Why doesn't anyone understand me?" creating emotional pressure on their partner. Narcissists also use gaslighting tactics like saying, "You're being too sensitive," or "You're remembering that wrong," to make their partner doubt their reality and feel guilty. These behaviors, whether in romantic, familial, or professional relationships, often lead to emotional exhaustion, burnout, and eventually the breakdown of trust and connection. Recognizing these signs early is crucial for maintaining healthy boundaries and protecting yourself from emotional manipulation in relationships. Narcissism, whether grandiose or vulnerable, doesn't have to define a person's life or relationships. While it may be challenging to change deeply ingrained traits, managing narcissism is possible with the right strategies and support. The first and most crucial step is self-awareness. Recognizing narcissistic behaviors and understanding how they affect others is essential for personal growth. Therapy, mindfulness, or even honest conversations with trusted individuals can help foster this awareness. Therapy, particularly approaches like cognitive behavioral therapy, can help narcissists reframe their thinking patterns, reduce their need for constant validation, and build healthier relationships. For those in relationships with narcissists, setting clear boundaries and encouraging open communication can help manage the impact of narcissistic behaviors. However, it's also important to prioritize self-care and seek support when needed. On a larger scale, promoting a culture of humility, collaboration, and emotional intelligence can help reduce narcissistic tendencies in society. Encouraging self-worth without excessive focus on competition or validation can lead to healthier individuals and communities. Developing empathy is a powerful way to counter narcissistic tendencies. Learning to genuinely listen to others, understand their feelings, and step out of the mindset of self-focus can transform relationships and foster deeper connections. Managing narcissism isn't about eliminating personality traits, it's about finding balance. With effort, support, and a willingness to grow, it's possible to cultivate healthier relationships and a more grounded sense of self.